and this is The Sound of Joseph. And today I'm talking about my experience at Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. So yeah, I'm a week or two late getting to this thing. I saw it on the 12th of November. But what can you do? So I guess I don't really need to tell you about the story. I think the name of the show says it all. Except it's probably a good thing if I do talk about the story, because it's actually a bit of a unique situation, not only in how they tell it, but also how it came to be, and in particular, my thoughts on it. But we will get to that. I freaking loved it. All the actors were amazing, the singing was great, the sets were really cool. The dancing was a little weird in places, but I really liked it. And it's impossible to get a bad seat at the Lyric Theatre. I have been to the Lyric Theatre more times than I can count, at least off the top of my head. And no, not just because I've seen Hamilton there 8 times. I have seen so many shows at the Lyric, and it is impossible to get a bad seat there. Impossible. Impossible. I didn't look at the cast boards too long because, as amazing as everyone was, I was there for one person. I only looked at the cast boards long enough to see whether Nicholas Hammond was on. He was. Because as incredible as everyone was, he was, of course, the one person I really wanted to see. Die-hard Sound of Music fangirl that I am. His character was the villain and as such kind of sucked, but he played it amazingly. There's this one moment where he's watching Cinderella and the prince interact and he says, "Each time they talk, I die a little inside." Which was just hilarious. And as I said, absolutely everyone was amazing. Like with Phantom of the Opera, with the exception of Nikki, I had not heard of a single person in this cast before, and I absolutely loved that. It's always wonderful getting to see new people. Shubshri Kandia, I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, was Ella, and she was wonderful. I remember when I first saw the casting, I was so happy to see a non-white actor in one of the principal roles. I was honestly not surprised given that it was coming off the heels of Hamilton, but I was so happy to see it nonetheless. And she's also going to be playing Belle in Beauty and the Beast next year, and I can't wait to see her on that. I've already got tickets. Ainsley Melham was great as Topher. The way he did the frustrated prince thing when Nikki Sebastian was talking was just hilarious. Again, this is really a funny show. The sets were really, really cool. The way they did the carriage was awesome. And of course, as you can see from the thumbnail, they had a giant replica carriage right outside. And it was beautiful. And yes, I took my shoe off for the photo. The other thing they obviously had to do, when stretching it out timeline-wise, was add a few more songs. And I was really interested about this, about how they were going to go about this. These would be entirely original, but it was actually very well done. There actually weren't nearly as many completely original songs as I thought there were going to be. And all the other little moments and reprises and things like that that they added were to the tune of songs that had already existed. A lot of what Topher sings in the little transitional scenes are to the tune of In My Own Little Corner. All this to say, it still felt like Rodgers and Hammerstein from beginning to end, even if it wasn't. The new songs really stuck to the Rodgers and Hammerstein style. Now with all this said, I do prefer the original version of Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. And when I say original, I do mean the 1957 one with Julie Andrews. It's the only other version of this musical that I have seen. I haven't seen the one with Brandy. Maybe I will one day. Now that I've seen it on stage, I kind of want to do a comparison video. Let me know if you'd like to see that, even though I've kind of spoiled myself for which one's my fave. And I don't think the reason that this one is my fave has 100% to do with Julie. I've made a couple videos on this musical in the past. There was a Today in Julie Andrews history video, one that I did earlier this year, and then another one. So I'm not going to go through everything, but my favourite thing about Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella is how unique it is. And the stage version isn't quite as unique. So just for a bit of a vague timeline thing, the original Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella was broadcast in 1957. The stage musical did not hit the stage until 2013, by which point both Rodgers and Hammerstein had been dead for a while. Between that and moving it from a TV broadcast to a stage show, quite a bit of transformative work had to happen. The original broadcast was only about an hour long, and stage musicals are usually not that short. So when they took it to stage, they had to add roughly an hour of extra stuff. And as I said, my favourite thing about Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella is how unique their telling of the story is, and absolutely nothing of what they added when they took Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella to the stage was unique or original at all. All the stuff they added was very well done for the most part, but it's stuff you've seen a million times before. So, spoilers. One of the stepsisters being nice to Cinderella, we've seen that before. The injustice that the royals need to find out about, being the plight of the poor people, check. The corrupt advisor who so desperately wants to rule, but until then is trying to rule by proxy, seen it before. Those last two are not always exclusive to Cinderella, but we've seen them before. Those are the big things they've added to this story, and we've seen all those things a million times before. As well done as it was, it stripped all the uniqueness away from it, in my opinion. And I can't help but wonder if they added the injustice of how the poor people are being treated subplot, because they wanted Cinderella to be more proactive and feminist. It would not surprise me if that's the main reason the subplot is what it is, which Cinderella as a character does not need. She has always been a strong character, especially Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. With that said, I do like some of the ways they tweaked it. Act 1 ends with her running away from the ball, but she doesn't lose her slipper, because the prince holds another ball, or a banquet, they make it very clear it's a banquet, in Act 2, and that's when she loses the slipper. Also, at that point she's wearing a yellow dress and carrying a book, so review for Chabris playing Belle. And that was actually where they put Do I Love You Because You're Beautiful in the timeline. And I really liked that. I really liked how they did that. And finally, I learned the name of the prince. Like, the whole name. If you've seen Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, I guess any version, you'll know that the prince's name is not quite a running joke, but it's brought up a lot because it's so long. And a lot of the time it's hard to tell exactly what it is, but I finally know. You ready for this? Christopher Rupert, Windermere Vladimir, Carl Alexander, Francois Reginald, Lancelot Herman, Gregory James. As I said, this thing is really funny, but unfortunately in changing the story they also had to cut a few tiny things that I really liked. The biggest being the king and the queen. I know why they did it, but the king and queen were absolutely hilarious, and it was a shame to lose them. Also, there was this specific one line they cut, and I really don't know why, because it's hilarious, and unlike the king and queen, this did not need to be cut to further the plot or anything. It was just a kind of throwaway gag that was missing. And that's when Cinderella comments on the fairy godmother's new dress, to which the fairy godmother replies, "I've had it for 832 years. I was waiting for that line and it didn't come. So, as I said, while a lot of the stuff they added was stuff you've seen before, I think it was pretty well executed for the most part. The one thing that I thought felt kind of flat was Sebastian's ending. So Sebastian clearly wants to rule the kingdom, he's very Jafar-like, but his ending felt a little unfinished. Spoilers again. Towards the end of Act 2, Prince Topher announces that they're going to hold an election to pick the new royal advisor, or second in command, or whatever it is, I've forgotten the exact name. And you as the audience member know it's definitely going to go to the stepsister's sweetheart who's been protesting all the injustice throughout the entire show, and not to Sebastian. But all that really happens is Sebastian goes, "Oh, it's an outrage!" And that's it. 2 scenes later he's handing over the necklace to Jean-Michel without a word, and that's that. It's hard to tell whether he's conceded to this outcome graciously, or whether he's doing it through clenched teeth, or whatever. I was expecting for him to either A, put up far more of a stink and have to be thrown in jail by Topher, or to concede graciously. And if he does do that one, it's very hard to tell. So I felt the ending with him was a bit flat, but other than that, the story was well done. So yeah, the story, being a complete 180 of everything I loved about Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella, was my one gripe with the show. But obviously it's a gripe that has absolutely nothing to do with the performance. Everyone was amazing. So yeah, that's all I've got for today. These are all my thoughts on Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella. Yes, I have kind of a serious gripe with this, but it has absolutely nothing to do with how it's acted or directed or staged or anything like that, and I would absolutely recommend going and seeing it. So Aussie people, did I mention Nicholas Hammond's in it? Let me know in the comments. Have you seen Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella on stage? If you have, how did it compare to any of the other versions, if you've seen them? What are your thoughts on it overall? Probably not going to be a video next week because I'm going to Melbourne on Friday. Stay safe guys, feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next time. So long, farewell! Also, I demand to know who was in charge of this program, because they didn't proofread it. They spelt Friedrich wrong.